I'd heard a rumour that Zara, the clothes shop, had a controversial new logo. I decided to hop onto the internet, Google it to see what all the fuss was about. Nothing could have prepared me for the sheer amount of clickbait headlines I was letting myself in for. So Zara is a Spanish fashion chain offering on-trend house brand clothing, shoes and accessories. There's one in pretty much every major town of the UK and it's a pretty big fashion name, high street store. They have recently updated their logo, which has caused a lot of drama. So since 2010, Zara's logo has looked like this. It's a pretty stylish word mark that uses a font called Compass TRF. It's nice and tasteful. It's tracked quite widely, a lot of kerning between each letter, which will become relevant when you see the new one. It's nice and tasteful, but I guess you could call it unremarkable. So this new logo that is causing people to lose their minds and go absolutely crazy looks like this. During my research of the general reception of this logo, I've seen about 20 news articles that are all negative, just completely slating it. And they seem to have picked up on people's Twitter comments, and some of them are things like, "It looks cramped and makes me anxious. It looks like someone's just found the letter spacing tool in Photoshop," and things like that. And then out of all of this, I've only seen maybe 2 or 3 comments which are positive, and someone going against the grain and saying they do like it or they think it's an improvement on the old one. Personally, I like the new logo. I think it's pretty cool. I think it looks nice and modern, and I think a lot of the criticism is probably coming from people who like that modern sans serif look, which is fine as well, but I just get the feeling that if they had gone to a sans serif font, the news reports would have just been Zara has lost all its personality, or Zara now looks like everyone else, they've lost all their, you know, the smell and the vibe of their brand. So I don't really think they can win, but at least by doing this, where they've gone completely against the grain, at least it stands out and they've got a lot of publicity from it. There is no way on earth I would be looking on the Zara website a few times this week unless they had this new controversial logo. So I think for a publicity stunt it's really good. I think it's a bold move that shows Zara is independent and creative, and sort of not scared to go against the grain, which I think is probably good. So every shop doesn't look exactly the same on the high street and online. There is one thing I just can't get my head around on this logo design, and it might be from my print background where scaling is a real issue, but it's the thinness of the letters, like the left side of the A, like the left arm of the A, it's just so thin, I just can't see that scaling. On their current website, it's about 90 pixels high, which looks kind of big compared to a lot of websites these days. And at this size, the arms of the A are like 1 pixel wide already, so there's just no room for scaling it down, which seems crazy to me. But I'm just thinking, like on business cards and stuff like that, it might be really hard to get the fine lines to come out. I would imagine their design team have already created another version for small format, so with a bit like thickened up where it needs it, specifically for them smaller areas, because I'm sure they know what they're doing. But just me, I like to, when I make a logo, make it scalable so that you haven't got to mess around swapping them out constantly. It's just a lot easier in the long run. And when you're sending, say you send a logo over to a customer and they're just going to use it in PowerPoint, they haven't got time to be messing around with secondary versions below certain pixel heights and stuff like that. The old logo font is a font called Compass TRF. I haven't actually got it, but I can find it online and you can do like a test drive, and I'm pretty sure it is that, and it's quite cool. And I think there's probably would have been scope to play around with that and create something out of that font, but they've chosen for the new one, I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's a font called Dido or D-I-D-O-T. I'll show you on here. I'm pretty sure it is this font, but just quite heavily adjusted. One of the comments online that I saw cited in a few of the news reports was, it looks like somebody's opened up Photoshop and just found the letter spacing tool and started playing around with that. Now, it's funny, and it is kind of, I can see where they're coming from, but in reality you can actually tell that this hasn't just been thrown together, this has been done properly. I'll put some little drawings on the screen now just to show you what I mean, because it's very hard to describe. Like where the crossbar on the A meets the left arm of the A, it makes like it's perfectly in the center of the flick of the R. It's just a nice little touch. And then the gaps like between each of the serifs on the bottom, you can just tell it's been looked after. The gaps are the same when they need to be, and if they need to be visually a little bit bigger, then they've done that as well. It is balanced and it is nice. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but nothing is everyone's cup of tea. That is the problem. People always have a lot of opinions on things, but this is why all of what everyone thinks doesn't matter. In a way, they've done the best thing they can because it's got so much attention. By going against the grain, it really has made them stand out. And also a big part of when you're launching a new brand, getting the general public to become aware of it is one thing. You have to see it a few times before you become familiar. I think it's something like 7 times before you feel like you're comfortable with it again. I don't really know where that comes from, that's just what I've heard. Okay, I didn't want to leave that bit so uncertain, so I've just looked it up and found a website that mentions the rule of 7. I got it a little bit wrong. It's not just seeing the logo, it's seeing the marketing message. It says here, the rule of 7 is an old marketing adage. It says that a prospect needs to see or hear your marketing message at least 7 times before they take action and buy from you. So, similar idea. But by it being in the news so many times, and all over the internet, all over Twitter, they're boosting their views very quickly, so already I'm familiar with it. When I go into town and see it, I won't think, oh, what's that? I'll know exactly what it is, so no confusion. Just think, oh, that's the new Zara logo, because I've already seen it. Well, I've probably seen it 30 times, but your average person's probably seen it 2 or 3 already. Whereas if they'd just gone a similar logo, just with a rounded corner, no one's going to be talking about it. There's not going to be any news stories about it. And basically no one will even probably really notice or care. So what they've done is good. It is good as a publicity stunt. I'm not sure, I doubt it was planned for that, but it might have been, you never know. Okay then, because this is Rebrand everything, we're going to have our own little go at creating the Zara logo and show in an alternate reality how they might have done it. Let's see what we can come up with. We are in Adobe Illustrator and we're just starting to look at the Zara logo. Started off by grabbing the 2010 logo, so not the updated one. Fiddling around with that, trying to bring it more into line with what they've got now, but without having all the so heavily overlapping letters. So this is just, it's more of a refresh than a rebrand. Playing around with how the Z and the A sit together. But I found that when I did that, it started looking like it said Lara, it looked like an L. I think you need that extra slant on the Z so it reads as Zara. But then we're just having a little bit of trouble with like the space in there because it just looked a little bit ugly. So I got a few references on the side of that sort of modern look that a lot of companies are going for now. And the kind of font I think they're using, I think what I've got here is Chalet, but some of them use like Futura, like put the tracking to a really low number so all the letters are overlapping, and I think that looks quite cool, quite quickly. Then I started playing around with the idea that we don't always have to have it in capitals, so maybe we'll be better off using lowercase for the ARA. A little trick when you want to get a nice gap around a curved letter is just duplicate the shape, remove the fill and just put a white stroke on it, and then move that to the front, and then in the stroke settings you can put it to the outside of the shape, and that's a good way of easily adjusting the size of the gap between the letters, and obviously you can change it very easily, and when it comes to it later you can just expand it and then cut it out. So I think this is looking quite good now. This is the font called Chalet. I'm just starting to look at some different ideas on the actual icon and try and keep a bit of the personality of the old logo, and also just it will help it be recognised as the Zara brand. Started thinking about taking the new Z and putting that inside a box, and then I noticed that we could make a nice rounded corner with the bottom of the Z. But it started looking, when I zoomed out and thought about it again, it started looking like a 7. I didn't want to cause confusion, so I tried a few different things like putting a stroke around it, enlarging the box, but it just kind of ruined the shape. So I couldn't really make that one work. I even tried putting the top left of the Z into the corner of the box so that we get the rounded corner there, but again it just looked weird. It didn't register in my mind as a Z. So this is what we've come up with, a few different options in all different directions. Just having fun really, just playing around. Let me know what your favourite is in the comments below. If you like this kind of video, you'll probably like some of my others. I've got 3 other videos at the moment, and I'm doing about 1 a week at the minute, all branding related, all design, Illustrator, sketching, that sort of thing. And yeah, press subscribe if you want to get them every week. Cheers.